became a state rep in 2012, and I've been there 14 years now. But working with kids are my passion, and at-risk kids. When I got elected to the county council, I got a tour of our juvenile justice system and got to hang out there a little bit and see even some of my kids from my own youth group there, which was really surprising. Which they didn't do anything I didn't do when I was a kid. I just didn't get caught doing it, right? What can I do to better their lives, and how do we stop them from getting to that point, or people getting into that point in life? You know, God has a plan for each and every one of us, but a lot of these kids don't know that. They don't know who Jesus is. They don't know why we celebrate Christmas. They don't know why we celebrate Easter. And, you know, my goal is just to introduce them to Jesus and who he is, and that he has a plan for them, and life can be good.
Why kids? When did you realize you wanted to help kids, and why? Where'd that come from?
We need mom and dad. I grew up with a mom and dad. A lot of these, you know, I think there's just something about a mom and a dad. Our foundation of God's faith and stuff is based on the family structure, right. And the devil loves to destroy the family structure.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, and we've got a great show lined up. If you just tuned in, I just want to say thank you. Also want to remind you, you can actually listen to this anywhere podcasts are streamed. You can also watch it. If you're a visual guy like me, I like to watch some YouTube. So you can go to our YouTube page at the 5-Star Life. And then we have a new program partner channel called Your Home TV. Just go to yourhometv.com. And then, of course, if you're not driving, check us out online, 5starlife.org. We've got a great show lined up. And again, for those who are new, like, we're on a mission. We're a nonprofit organization on a mission to transform students' lives by challenging the way they think, the way they act, and the way they lead, while equipping them with the athletic, the academic, the social, and the employability skills they need to thrive. That's a mouthful. We're going to unpack that throughout the show, but I want to just tease a couple things. We had a chance to sit down with one of our state representatives, Dale DeVon, who is just a great advocate for kids. He's the chairperson of the Children and Families Committee, and so he's been fighting for kids for about 14 years in the state legislation. So stay tuned. Make sure you don't miss that segment. I sit down for about 15 minutes with him. So stay tuned in segment 2, or fast forward if you want just to get to that one. But right now, I've got a special guest. Coach Mia, my co-host, is out of town. So I've got one of our staff members, actually our lift coordinator, Abby Padilla, is in the house. Abby, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So Abby's a rock star. She's been working with kids with 5-Star for several years now. She came on board. Well, actually, let's talk about that. How long has it been?
Well, I originally did my internship while I was in college, so we're going about 3 years with 5-Star, about a year in May with Lift Coordinator.
Okay, so how did you find out about 5-Star? Where'd you learn about it?
I went to Holy Cross College, and we had a college fair there, and they just had a booth there, and I was actually very interested in doing my internship with Lyft originally. Just juveniles have always been close to my heart, but they had been in a cohort actively, so I reached out to Keenan, and we got in touch, got an interview going, and I got my internship out at Summit originally.
So for people just tuning in, they're like, what's Lyft? What is that? It's one of our 5. We have several programs. We have sports programs. We have innovative learning, where kids are bussed out for school at our 400-acre innovative learning campus. We have a video curriculum program that schools from Michigan to Florida use, that is teaching the most important stuff that every parent, every business leader wants kids to know. Like, how do you think well? How do you deal with conflict? How are you self-aware? Are you emotionally intelligent? Do you have values? Do you know who you are? Do you have confidence? Do you have a work ethic? So that curriculum teaches all those things in school. It's a great program. And then there's Lyft. Talk about Lyft, and why did you want to be a part of Lyft?
Wow. Lyft is leadership infusion for families and teens. So right away, we're targeting the entire family unit, which is so important because one person in the family cannot create all the change that they're wanting. So just growing up, coming from a broken home, not getting the love or good attention that I was wanting, looking elsewhere, creating bad attention, bad name for myself, ultimately being labeled as a bad kid. So from early on,
which I hate that.
Right.
I just hate that so much. It happens all the time.
Right.
Kids are blamed and shamed and labeled all the time. And it happens from people that love their kids. It happens from teachers that are good teachers. And actually, the last part of this show, we're going to devote to it's going to be like a mini masterclass for parents, teachers, any adult that's around kids, like how to work with kids and how to discipline instead of punish kids. So I'm sorry. So you're labeled a bad kid.
Yes. So just piggybacking off what you said, most of the time moments that these kids are having become their identity because of the labeling, and they just start to believe those. So that is exactly what happened in my case. I just had a lot of bad moments because I'm coming from a single mom home, not getting all the attention because it's elsewhere, whether that's my sister or jobs, multiple jobs at the time.
She's trying to figure it out. She's doing the best she knows how.
Right.
But in the process, you're by yourself a lot.
And it's a lot of reacting on both our ends. So that's already creating a divide, and then just impulsive reactions. So it was a very hard time growing up. I didn't know that I could be another way. I just always thought, like, because I do bad things, I must just be a bad person inside.
This is who I am. It's not a choice, not a bad choice, not a bad action. This is me. This is my choices are me. This is who I am.
Right. So not only is my entire circle around me believing that, I'm believing that. So growing up thinking I'm a bad kid, and then finally I'm from New Mexico, so completely going as far as I can to South Bend, Indiana, and I realized that I'm not a bad kid. I am way more than that. And so my entire college experience was me figuring out who I really am.
Man, that's so powerful, because that's exactly what colleges and universities say they want to help people do. Find out who they are. Back up a little bit though. So how'd you get from New Mexico to South Bend though?
I got recruited to play college soccer. I was in a soccer tournament in Arizona, and got a visit in 2021. I came out here to visit Holy Cross College in 2020, and then came out here again August 2021.
Wow, so right in that COVID
Yes.
window, everything was weird.
Oh my gosh, so weird. It was actually it's really funny because it was the last tournament in the entire United States that I got scouted at.
Then everything shut down.
Yes. And then we were on like a 3 to 6 month complete shutdown. Yeah.
Man, it's amazing, like the divine timing of everything.
Well, talk about even more amazing. I wasn't even with my team. I was guest playing for a team.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just and we teach this in 5-star, but like teaching kids, like, life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And we teach kids, like, say yes to every good opportunity that comes your way. Like, don't say yes to drugs.
Right.
every good opportunity as an adolescent, say yes to it. Like, hey, you want to guest play? Yes. Do you want to volunteer? Yes. Do you want to? Yes.
Especially with volunteering and helping out your community. If the quicker these kids can learn to be servant leaders, the more their life is going to open up for them.
So you said yes, you guest played, and then you got recruited, and all of a sudden you're in South Bend. And this is so cool for me to hear, because I've never heard this part of your story like this. So then you came here thinking I'm a bad kid. Where did it start to change?
I was really excited to come so far away, like restarting from zero. And I just, growing up, the drama's always followed. So I thought, the farther I go, the less drama will be. But no. So actually it
followed you.
Yes, it did follow me. Unfortunately, my first 2 years were not as exciting or as proud as I would have liked them to be. Great experiences to get me to where I'm at, though, so I can't really complain. But it wasn't until my junior year that I did my internship with 5-star, where I really started to it was actually the 5 core values that we have, where I realized like I don't even hold myself to any values. I have no morals for myself. I'm really just living off of the stories I've been told. So it wasn't until my internship that's really when I started to do some work within.
This is so cool. I didn't know. I just learned it for the first time. That's amazing.
Yeah, 5-star
So 5-star
actually
was a turning point for you.
Yes.
In shaping your identity.
Yes, and it wasn't in the same way where these kids are experiencing it. It was actually while I'm teaching it, I'm actually indulging myself in the content, in the videos. At the time, it was transformation that we were going through. And no, actually, it was breakthrough. We were going through breakthrough at Summit, so that was a great kind of dip into what was going to happen to my life. But yeah, it was every single lesson we would do with the kids, I was just watching with them, answering the questions with my own honesty. And yeah, it's just really helped me.
It's funny because I say this to people all the time, like nobody gets more out of what we teach in 5-star than me. Because I'm helping I'm running point and developing the curriculum and lessons.
Right.
Like, trust me, nobody gets like because sometimes I hear people say, well, that's nice for kids. I'm like, I mean, you can think that if you want, but this is the stuff that builds who you are, your identity, your life, your decision-making, your mindset. Like it's, I'm telling you, like it's for kids, but it's changing my life. Like I keep on growing.
Right. And I think we just as adults should be way more open-minded than we are because we never arrive. And there's some habits that we think are just a part of us now is completely false. So yeah, it is just as much for the kids as it is for us.
It's amazing, Abby, like just your posture of being a sponge and wanting to learn and grow and allowing yourself to be coached. That's the stuff that creates a meaningful life, a great life. And that's where people who have that approach and that posture, they grow and they just keep growing. And people can't see it right away, but it's just like that consistent growth. Your path is bright. You and Kevin both. Last week I announced on the show that he proposed to you and you guys were engaged. So we celebrated that. He was beaming back there. I couldn't help but bring it up. So congratulations. For those who didn't tune in last week, go back and check that out. But Abby is just a newly engaged woman. So she is now off the market. Sorry, fellas. But just the path you guys are on is so good because you guys both have such humility and hunger. And we live in a society where there's not a whole lot of humility. And there's not a whole lot of hunger. And those two things have created so much growth. I've watched you grow tremendously from being a volunteer, a coach, to now, coordinating the whole program and doing a great job. All right. So we have like a minute and a half. Give me like the most, in a nutshell, from where you started to where you are now. You wanted to do the internship with Lyft. We put you out at Summit, learning some other things, and then you ended up coming back, got this position. How's it been? What's the experience been like coordinating Lyft?
Wow. I don't think I could, in a nutshell, explain how amazing just being a part of Lyft, let alone the chance to run it. It's way bigger than just showing up for 2 hours and mingling with some families, getting to know their stories. But what we do as coaches, how we set up the entire evening is what goes into those 2 hours. So by our coaches meeting in the beginning, getting to know our coaches who our volunteers are, all the way to praying over these families right when they come in. So important. And then just being ourselves, showing them the light that they're probably not seeing in their everyday lives. And then just having fun, like life is already as hard as it is. There's so much negativity and hate in the world. So if we can just bring positivity and love for these next 2 hours, it's just going to be amazing, which is always how it is. We start the evening a little tense, but then as soon as we get into our game and our break, the rest just flows.
Very cool. All right. Abby, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
the 5-Star Life Parent app. Each lesson includes a short video and simple discussion prompts designed to help families reconnect and start talking again. Because when parents lead the conversation, kids grow stronger. Download the 5-Star Life Parent app today and start your first family conversation this week, transforming kids' lives by challenging the way they think, act, and lead.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I am your host, Coach Seth, and we have a really special guest today. I'm sitting here with State Representative Dale DeVon. Dale, thanks for joining our show.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Dale, we've walked together for several years now and developed a friendship. I consider you a friend, like I introduced you with your title. But tell me a little bit about Dale DeVon. And you've been a builder, you've become a state representative, but you're a father, you're a husband, you're a grandfather. And I know you most deeply as a person of faith and somebody who fights for kids. But talk about Dale DeVon. Tell me about your story. Tell me your journey, how you got here.
Born and raised South Bend Memorial Hospital, right? My parents were, at least my father was born at Memorial Hospital, and South Bend's been my home my whole life, St. Joe County. Grew up in Clay Township with, there was 7 of us. You got 5 brothers and a sister, loving parents, but hardworking parents, right? And so it taught us how to work ethics. Grew up working on my grandpa's farm and in Clay Township on Ironwood Road, where Georgetown North is now. But since I was 8 years old, I worked on the farm till I was about 16. School and I didn't always get along real well, and I knew college probably wasn't in the cards for me. Wasn't sure what I was going to do, and then my brother was having a house built when I was 17 years old, and the guy doing the carpentry asked me to go to work for him, and I said I'd like to, and that was 50 years ago. And I started my own construction business when I was around 21, and then started a home building business in 1995, so about 33 years ago. So,
Wow.
And I've been in the home building industry my whole life.
So you got into construction, and then by 21, you're like, I want to do this on my own.
Yeah.
What led to that decision?
So when I was 21, the economy wasn't really well in the early 80s. If people remember that, well, people that were old enough to remember, interest rates were, in that 18% range, right? So the construction industry really, the new home building industry just kind of stopped. And so remodeling was a way to stay busy. People couldn't afford to move, so they stayed in their home, but they needed to fix things up. And we started building decks and kitchen remodels or finishing basements and those type of things. And then when the economy started picking up, the guys that I met along the way, we started doing new home construction and framing and finished carpentry. And we had quite a few employees at one point working for a lot of different builders. And then in the 90s, I started building homes myself, and I've been in it ever since, and got involved a lot with the Home Builders Association, fighting for affordable housing issues, which we need to continue to do, because as you know, affordable housing is not a good thing right now. And so we've always tried to fight against regulations that harm affordability, and it's something that we got to continue to fight for. So that's kind of got me involved politically. I spent 10 years on our county council. In St. Joe County, I was chairman of the land use committee for about 9 of those 10 years, and looking at zoning laws and regulations and those type of things, working with our government agencies, and then became a state rep in 2012. And I've been there 14 years now. But working with kids are my passion, and at-risk kids. So being a youth leader at my church, a lot of our kids were 1 or no parent household kids. And when I got elected to the county council, I got a tour of our juvenile justice system, and got to hang out there a little bit and see even some of my kids from my own youth group there, which was really surprising. Which they didn't do anything I didn't do when I was a kid. I just didn't get caught doing it, right? But it started 20 years of me going down there almost every other week, just talking to kids and hanging out, learning their environment. What can I do to better their lives, and how do we stop them from getting to that point, or people getting into that point in life? God has a plan for each and every one of us. But a lot of these kids don't know that. They don't know who Jesus is. They don't know why we celebrate Christmas. They don't know why we celebrate Easter. And, my goal is just to introduce them to Jesus and who he is, and that he has a plan for them, and life can be good.
Why kids? When did you realize you wanted to help kids, and why? Where'd that come from?
I think because I had, 3 kids of my own. I was, again, one of 7 kids in my family, and just a lot of neighborhood kids. But when you hear kids' hearts that grow up in a tough environment, your heart breaks, and you want to help them any way you can. And that's something I've done most of my life, is try to be helpful to other people, to encourage other people, to make life better for other people. And if we can do that, life would be better for everybody. If everybody can just reach out and help somebody in a positive manner, not in a negative manner.
What's the most surprising part of being in politics and being in the position you're in? Anything that took you by surprise, the whole process, the political process?
Yeah, so when you watch TV, you get kind of taken away from it, right? You're not encouraged. It's like, why would anybody want to do that? The state of Indiana, I don't know if it's a unique breed in the country, but there's 100 state representatives and 50 senators, and they're some of the best people that you would ever want to meet in this country, in our state. And I get to work hand in hand with them. We have a beautiful building, but we are so conservative in Indiana that other states look at our laws and try to emulate what Indiana does. We have the Chicago Bears wanting to come to Indiana, right? We have, on average, 4 people an hour are moving out of Chicago coming to Indiana. And I know people are, property taxes is a big issue right now in Indiana, right? But if we want to get rid of what we're doing, we could go to what Illinois is doing. Your taxes are going to triple, because Illinois taxes are 3 times what they are in Indiana. And so conservative values make life more affordable for most people, even though they're a little bit higher right now because of cost of housing, right? And with interest rates, people don't want to sell their house because they're going to lose a lower interest rate. They got a 2.5–3% rate, where the new rate's going to be 6–7%. They're going to hang on to that lower rate. So there's not a lot of houses on the market, which makes the cost of housing going up, and your assessments go up with it, and our taxes are based on assessment rate.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any clue when you were in your 20s or 30s that you'd be in politics?
But not a clue. I didn't do it till all my kids got out of school anyway, and I just spent a lot of time praying about it, and I didn't think I wanted to do it, but God had a plan, and I learned it's better to be obedient than to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm. So, do you remember how we met?
Remind me.
I was just thinking about this. It was COVID, and I was at a point where I was like, man, these kids are just dropping off the map. They're at home, they're not getting an education, and I've stayed out of politics. I've stayed in my lane. Like, I know what I'm called to do. I know what God's called me to do. It's work with kids, fight for kids. But I was really frustrated that so many kids were just like, it didn't seem like a lot of decisions were made for kids, right? And so I started reaching out and door knocking on, politicians' doors, and you were one, and you were one that responded really quickly. And we began to dialogue and began to talk, and you were just inquisitive and learned more. I think you were familiar with 5 Star, but that's where I was like, oh man, this Dale DeVon, this Representative DeVon, like, he's the real deal. Like, he cares about kids, and he returns calls. And so I just, and from there, you then took an interest in our mission for kids, and we're like, hey, Seth is doing good work, so Seth, how can I support you? And you started calling me, like, hey, Seth, how can I pray for you today? How can I support you? So it was a really unique experience where I'm like, this is the way government's supposed to work, to have people that are part of the community that just care, and they're trying to serve, like public servants. So I just want to acknowledge you as a true public servant. You've modeled that. I've experienced that firsthand, and I just want to say thank you.
Wow.
Because it's not, it's just, in this political environment, there's a lot of arrows flying every which way. And it's weird because I see what you're saying. When I go to the State House and I talk to people on both sides, because obviously
Right.
we're not partisan, we're just for kids. I see the same thing. Republicans, Democrats, we're all, I see that synergy, and it's interesting how oftentimes in media it's just flipped.
Well, they like a good story, right?
Yeah.
And they try to make up stories sometimes or create a story that really isn't there. But,
Sure.
and these kids, we got to do better for them, right? So we have, about 1.1 million kids going to our K through 12 school system right now in Indiana. Well, it's probably growing a little bit now because our population's grown in Indiana. But I know, the teachers union, our teachers, we got to support them, we got to help them. But some of these kids, for a long time we battled the voucher system in our community, in our state, because did it take money from public schools? Did it not? Well, when the schools get paid by a per diem by child, and if that child's not there, they don't get their per diem. So that per diem did not hurt our public schools. To take that kid out of our public schools, if we didn't do anything with them, if you look at what vouchers did in our graduation rate, before vouchers, we were probably under 80% graduation rate, in that high 70 range. Today we're about 91% kids graduating, because we take those kids now, if they can't succeed in a particular school because their parents only live in a particular district because they can't afford to live anywhere district, they're done. But now they can take that voucher and go to any school that they can succeed in. But I'm still fighting for that 10% or 9% of kids that aren't graduating. And those are the ones that, how can we help those kids? That typically they come from not a lot of positive adults in their lives. Not everybody, but and there's some loving one-parent households, right?
Absolutely.
But we need mom and dad. I grew up with a mom and dad. A lot of these, I think there's just something about a mom and a dad. Our foundation of God's faith and stuff is based on the family structure.
Right.
And the devil loves to destroy the family structure. And I think, we have 13,000 kids right now in the foster care system that don't have a family structure. And if every church would adopt one kid in Indiana, we wouldn't have any more foster kids. We have another 17,000 homeless youth in Indiana, and that number's growing every day. And they got a lot of kids having kids. And so we're really trying to help our schools, but a lot of times our teachers are raising these kids, right? Because they don't get a lot of an adult structure in their family. But we got to give help. We got to come along the side of our teachers. We got to help them. We got to help those that don't have that typical structure family. So, sorry, you could keep me going.
It's you're passionate about it. I love it, and that's what I'm talking about. We need every citizen wants somebody that's passionate and knowledgeable about their area. You serve as the chair of the Family and Children's Committee, and I just think it's so important that you have people that are knowledgeable and passionate. Right? We need people that are passionate there. So I appreciate that. I'm curious. Turn back the clock. What did you see in 5-star to say, you know what, I'm gonna make sure that I support this and make introductions and make connections and leverage this nonprofit. I'm just curious, why?
You and I seem to be like-minded. Your faith and I seem to be in the same page. We feel like we need God in our lives. We need God in our mission. And I think that's where I felt I could hear God speaking through you. I could hear your cry and your passion for kids that I see locked up in our jails, where kids commit crimes just to get locked up because jail's better than their home. They get fed there, they got a place to sleep, and nobody touches them. Where at home, it's not a pretty picture. And so your passion to help children and help these same kids that I've been going to and talking to that grew up in this inner city environment, not even an inner city environment, but just a tough home environment, right? Yeah. And we have tough home environments in our community, everywhere in the community, but it seems like that inner city seems to, the very first kid that ever asked me to pray with him at the Juvenile Justice Center was 13 years old. He goes, would you pray with me? I said, I'd be happy to. What would you pray about? And he goes, could you pray for my kid? And I'm like, here I'm talking to a 13-year-old child that's already fathered a child. And people say, where are the adults in the room? Where's their parents?
Right.
There isn't any.
Right.
So do we want government to raise these kids? I don't think so. Government doesn't do a good job. But if we can get our communities, our churches and community partners, continue to work with Boys and Girls Club because they're very successful, right? Heroes Camp's very successful. And then I watched 5-Star working with thousands of kids. And they're very effective. Not every program is effective. I know there's a Camp Prairie Birds in our communities. You got transformation ministries. You got a lot of great people. And we need more of them.
Yeah.
And anything I can do to help 5-Star move their message across this country, I will do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the work you're doing.
You too.
At 5-Star Life, we talk a lot about the right tools. See, the hammer is the courage to be the best person you can be. The chisel is the respect you give and the respect you earn. The level, that's the integrity that keeps you balanced in a world that's always shifting. And the saw represents responsibility. It is what separates you from harmful actions and experience. It's the sacrifice it takes to work hard and be your best. Tools, when they're all used together, things are built. There's progress, but where there are no tools, there can be no progress. We give these important tools to kids every single day, and we couldn't do it without our partners like Global Link Distribution. Global Link supports this mission so that these values, courage, respect, integrity, responsibility, and sacrifice become the tools these amazing young people use to become great. Global Link Distribution is a leader and supplier to the RV, manufactured housing, cabinet shop, cargo, and horse trailer industries, but they're also a proud sponsor of this program to help 5-Star Life students thrive. It is our turn to see to it that our children have the tools that build greatness. Volunteer or donate today at 5starlife.org.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth. And you know what? I hope you enjoyed hearing Dale DeVon talk about his journey. What a great journey. Sometimes we just think, politicians are just politicians, but like they're people that they're business owners, they're leaders, they're public servants. And so he's fighting for kids. But I want to get back because in our first segment, we sat with Coach Abby Padilla, who is our lift coordinator. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
And I wanted to get back to something that we were trying to introduce the lift in your journey. And you were talking about starting out as a volunteer and then a staff member up at Summit, our 400-acre innovative learning campus, for programming out there. But then you took this position with Lyft, and it's having a huge impact. Tell me a little bit, when you're learning about Lyft to actually now experiencing it and running it. Is it the program you thought it was, or what's different from what you thought it was going to be and what it actually is?
You see a lot of programs that have the good intention behind it, but the execution isn't always there. With Lyft, I didn't really have any expectations coming into it, but I was just blown away just about our volunteers, the love that they pour into these kids. As a volunteer, it was just so amazing to peel back the layers to these kids because it's always deeper than why they're there. There's always the root of the problem, and just being able to, over 6 weeks, peel those layers back and see those is really powerful. But then for the kids on the other side to see where the root is and heal from that is so powerful, because that's when they start to begin their journey in finding themselves and healing.
For the person out there that just tuned in, they're like, this Lyft thing, you're talking about the Lyft program, Leadership Infusion for Families and Teens. How do families get enrolled in the program?
So we partner with the juvenile system for Elkhart County and St. Joe County. The juvenile will have committed a low-risk offense and get referred to our program, and then they'll be required to complete the 6-week program with some requirements under that. But that's how they get with us.
And the talk a little bit about the journey from the first night to the last night.
It's actually really funny because it's like clockwork. They never believe it. Just stone cold faces. No one wants to be there. The tension is so tough in there. It's really, you could really cut it with a knife, but like a butter knife. It's bad. But as soon as we start to get to know each other, it's like after the first small group, we all come back together. The parents feel seen and they start to open up a little bit. The girls are realizing they're not alone and they're not the bad moment and why they're there. Same with the boys, they feel seen. And then it's just the first couple of weeks we're getting to know them a little bit, their story. And then our leadership day it's a full Saturday out at Summit and we just bond, completely get to know each other for, we can get to know a little bit in 2 hours, but being with each other for about 5 to 7 hours is way better. And we just get to experience nature, fresh air. We really get to tie in the curriculum that we're continuing to learn while putting that into practice with real activities like boating or high ropes course. That's really where your insecurities or fear might come out. So that's where we get to do some great work with them. And then the rest of the time is just so much fun because we've already gotten to know each other. We're so close that the final 2 to 3 weeks are really important because they've bought in, they can trust you. We've created a safe place and they want to do better.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the journey we take them on. Because there's the human component. People change people's lives. So, you laid out how important it is to create a place of safety in that first week, the first day of the program, and build those relationships, right? And where kids feel like, okay, they're not going to judge me based on my last mistake. They care more about where I want to go with my life. So talk a little bit about how that builds from the first night to the last night and some of the journey that we take them on, intentional journey with our curriculum.
Yeah, with our curriculum, we watch the video and then we break out into small groups. So we all watch it together and get our takeaways. And at least for me and my girls, week 1, we just kind of set the tone, what to expect. We're all here to be raw and real. We're growing together. I haven't arrived. You haven't arrived. We're all going to get better together over the next 6 weeks. And then I honestly never tell them that I know why they're there unless they kind of bring it up. And so even then, them knowing that at that point, they don't think everybody else is required to be there. So they think, again, like it's me, this shame bubble, like I'm the only bad person here. Everyone else is wanting to be here. And so when the girls start getting comfortable, they'll start saying, oh, wait, you're here for probation too. And then even then it's just like, okay, I'm not the only one. And then so again, they're not feeling alone and they already feel safe within a community of just other girls that are their age. And so that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. And then the rest kind of just organically flows with love and conversation.
What kind of changes have you seen in students, in parents?
In one cohort, I can see just students realize that they're not their story or what's been told about them. And for parents, it's very powerful for them to recognize some of the hurt that they may have caused in their family, but take responsibility from it and do better, want to do better. And just that component of just taking responsibility and ownership of their past choices is creating a better tomorrow for them, because not only are they healing their children, whether they know it or not, but their children are creating or have already seen a space be created for them that they can all do better together. But if I've seen tremendous growth the longer these families stay in cohorts. So there is one family that oh my gosh, it was actually my first cohort I volunteered that was their cohort being referred to. And just talk about not wanting to be there. And which is fair. And just the end of the 6 weeks, they were asking when the next one is. And then come 4 cohorts later, they're still asking for the next ones. And they have just they're bringing in more siblings. They're bringing more practices in their home. And it's just really working. And you show up better. So you can genuinely tell that it is.
Yeah. Yeah. From you gave me a report last week that showed like the academic growth in this last Elkhart cohort It was like incredible, like an entire grade point average increase, like for these kids. So it's academic, but I think for me, it's when you target the core operating system of a kid, their mindset, and target the core of a family, a parent, and you take them on an intentional journey. It's amazing to watch the kids and the parents, because like you're coaching girls and our male coaches are coaching boys and I'm coaching parents. We split off after the lesson to actually journal and process appropriately, age appropriately, group and gender appropriately. And then it's just amazing to watch parents go from angry and, like you said, the tension, like, I don't want to be here, to like buying in and seeing like, hold on, this is really empowering. Because most parents that find themselves in a situation where their kid is in trouble, they feel guilt, they feel shame, they're beside themselves, even though they usually won't tell anybody that, because we as parents, when we're hurting, we don't really ask for help, and it's not really appropriate, we think, to share that we have insecurities and we feel like we're the reason that our kids are struggling. Right. Nobody wants to say that as a parent. We're like, well, I taught them better than that. Well, they come to the program, and we quickly start to ask them, like, if anything was possible, what kind of a parent would you want to be? If anything was possible, what kind of relationship would you want to have with your family? If anything was possible, what would you want your family to look like in 6 months, in 6 years? And letting them step back and dream and imagine. And let's look at that picture now. Where are you now? And what can you take one step this week? And I think that's the power I see in 5 stars. Like it's one step every week, one little step that they take every week to get better.
And what I like is that the one step is a small win. And at Lyft, we celebrate every single win. And so what they think, oh yeah, but no, it's way bigger than that. Like you are transforming your life right now.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, I mean, we have the most incredible volunteers. People that they give 3 hours about every, week for 6 weeks at a time. And most of our volunteers, like they've been around for a long time. Like once they come to Lyft, they don't leave.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
I think, well, I would like to say that it's the space that we create in general with Lyft and the curriculum, the heart and mind behind what we do. But I would also like to say just the community behind it that we build together. I think that's very powerful. And the coaches that are still around, we just become family with each cohort. Every time we get closer, it's very nice.
Yeah, it's a different, everybody tells us like, when we volunteering for 5 stars is so different than volunteering at most places because of the community. Like people are so like-minded and we take it really serious, right? So we vet heavily and make sure we have great qualified people. But then we entrust them with heavy lifting. Like they're mentoring, guiding, having the real deal conversations with kids and families, and it's very fulfilling, I think, for them.
I think so too. I think as much as they're helping them again, or as much as they're helping the kids, again, they're helping themselves too. And the longer they stay, we create an environment to where accountability is held to the higher standard because just the trust and love that we've created over the previous cohorts.
Yeah, that's good. Awesome. Abby, you've been an incredible asset to this team.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on 5 Star Life today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I love the show.
So we're going to shift and pivot a little bit to go to this next segment. And I just did a training, and I wanted to offer this on our show for parents and teachers, but we just did a training, a behavioral management training. So you can, let's have a dialogue here. I started this training, and this is for our program staff up at Summit that work with kids. And I wrote the word discipline on one side, and I wrote the word punishment on the other side. And I just asked the question, when it comes to behavior management, managing student behaviors, which word best encapsulates or describes the model you'd think that across the country, we'd say that's the word that describes what we're going for when it comes to managing kids' behavior? Would you say punishment or discipline?
What we want or what I would say discipline is what we would want. Yes.
Okay. Totally agree. And what would you say is the difference between punishment and discipline?
Discipline is taking the time to talk about the moment, figure out what to do, or I guess figure out what you could do better and then learn something from that. And I think punishment is reacting from the moment, and whether it's blame or shame, nothing comes out of it other than what the kid is feeling after.
So good. Okay. So we're going to unpack this more, the punishment, discipline, which I think we all know it. But we're going to go a little bit deeper, because what's happening is most parents and educators say we're about discipline, but what we actually do in the moment is punishment.
Yep.
The 5-Star Life Parent app. Each lesson includes a short video and simple discussion prompts designed to help families reconnect and start talking again. Because when parents lead the conversation, kids grow stronger. Download the 5-Star Life Parent app today and start your first family conversation this week, transforming kids' lives by challenging the way they think, act, and lead.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. We're having a great show. We're going to wrap this up. I've got Coach Abby here in studio still with me, and we just kind of introduced some training components about behavior management that I wanted to share with everybody. It's really simple, but you nailed it, talking about discipline and punishment. But I want to talk about the language because, Abby, I see so consistently so many adults that these are good parents, these are good teachers, these are good people. They're not trying to do it wrong, but I see that we want discipline, but what we give is we give punishment, and language matters.
Right.
The word discipline comes from a Latin root word, so in the Roman culture. It comes from a root word "discere," which "discere" just means to learn. And then under that, discipulus is the word learner. So it's a learner, discipulus, learner. And then under that is disciplina, which means to be trained, to be educated, to be developed. And then under that is where we get the word all together, discere, disciplina, discipulus. That forms this word discipline. So it comes from the Roman idea behind discipline was this process of training and developing and repetition to form a soldier, a citizen, into a Roman whatever they were. And so the word discipline has lost the meat of the meaning, right? And so when we talk about behavior management, we're talking about forming, developing, and repetitiously, consistently forming a person. But most of what we do with kids is what? You said it before. It's out of reactions, right?
Yes.
So we say it's discipline, but really it's punishment. A kid does something wrong, and we react, and we punish instead of discipline, a process of repetition to form a life. And I'm a huge believer. You've learned a lot about this and are now teaching it and instilling it into kids. But there's a big part of behavioral management that I believe that if every parent and every educator across the country could learn what we're talking about right now, and we're going to put this into a masterclass in our app, and we're going to do a lot of professional development around this. But if every educator, if every parent could learn this process of their nervous system, why is it that we aspire to be people that discipline and take kids through a process, whether it's our own kids, but end up punishing? Because we live in and out of 3 states of being. So, and people have heard me on air talk about this before, but you have a vagus nerve that goes from your brainstem all the way down to your visceral organs. And 20% of the job of that thing is to regulate your organs. So it's regulating your respiratory system, your breath, your heartbeat, your digestive system. And so 20% is like regulating your organs. The other 80% is it's carrying information. It's carrying emotions. It's communicating. And that whole vagus nerve starts here at your brainstem, and at the top, there's a spot. Now, again, they can, with all the MRI and imaging, all the advanced technology, they can see that there's a spot at the top of the vagus nerve called the ventral vagal, where when we're clear, when we're hopeful, when we feel safe, when we feel connected, truly what's firing there and where we're focused, where we're living in this ventral vagal state. That's what's operating and flowing right there. That's the state of being that's running the show. But when we are triggered and we are anxious and we are stressed and we're agitated and when we're afraid, we drop down, and what's firing there, what's running at the show, what's lit up in the nervous system is the sympathetic nervous system, which is in your spine, actually. It's not in the vagus nerve. It's in your spine, behind your shoulder blades. It's this little spot. And then all the way down to the bottom of the vagus nerve in your stomach, that is where we go to shut down. That's where we go to escape. That's where isolation happens. That's where depression lives. That's where you feel alone and sad and hopeless and helpless. And so you think about those three different states. They're states of being that are lit up and that are running the show. Your nervous system is running you. And we live in and out of those three different states. So when you think about why the worst parenting happens where? In fight or flight or in the shutdown thing. Shutdown is just like, I don't care. Right? That's when we neglect our kids. Like, I can't handle it. It's too much. I can't handle it. I'm out. And there's a lot of kids that have parents that are just checking out. And I'm not saying that to shame or blame parents or teachers that are overwhelmed because they got 35 kids in their class. Like, that's real. And all of the emotions that come with different states, what happens is we as adults, we shame, we blame, and we label kids, bad kid. Because you had anger issues, because you were this, because you're that. Well, you're just out of control. Well, it's wrong to say that the kid is bad and is just an angry kid. It's not who they are. It's where they are in the nervous system.
Yes.
And so helping adults, teachers, parents understand this simple ladder, we call it. If you want to help kids develop and grow, it starts with the adult knowing where they're at. What part of my nervous system is activated right now? Because if I'm right here and I'm clear, well, now that's where the brilliant teachers' ideas come up with. That's where the brilliant parent ideas are living. That's where things are easy and they flow, and you have these magical moments of connection, and kids have aha moments and they feel connected. And all of a sudden, kids' lives change because of what? Because they were able to connect. And one of the most powerful things that happens at this ventral vagal is called co-regulation, where the kid. So what we're asking schools to think about is letting 5-star life, and we're doing this more and more, but we want this to be widespread across the state and country. Let us teach your teachers and your coaches this process and how they can be a powerful force for good by first identifying when a kid does something bad or wrong, the first thing that happens is that adult mirrors the nervous system of the kid.
Right.
So they're triggered. So all of a sudden they go from clear to like 0 to 60 like that, and they're triggered, they're upset, they're anxious, they're out of control, whatever. And now they're trying to discipline out of that wrong state, which it comes out as what?
Punishment.
Yeah. So it's really simple but really powerful.
Right.
So if as an adult, as a parent, as a grandparent, this is not blame or shame, because guess what? As a dad, I get frustrated. As a leader, I get frustrated with people that don't get stuff done, right? It just, you can't help it.
Right.
But when you can start identifying, where am I at? Because when you're up here, you're on the top of the mountain. We call our 400-acre innovative learning campus Summit. Why do we call it Summit? We call it Summit because we teach our staff and kids, you don't want to be making decisions in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be making decisions down in dorsal vagal, down in this negative spot of helplessness, hopelessness, and depression and sadness. Don't make big decisions when you're in the valley.
Right.
You don't want to make big decisions when you're in the middle of the mountain, when you're climbing or you're rising or falling, because you can't see. You have a good perspective. You're anxious. You're uncertain. But you know when you're at the top, you can look out and you can see where you've been. You can see where you just came from. You can see the whole valley below and the journey you just took, and you can see where you're going. You can see the next mountain peak.
Mm-hmm.
And you can chart your course with clarity, with certainty. And it's the same way with disciplining kids. When you're in ventral vagal, you're clear. Your best parenting happens there. And there's so many people. I've sat with our lift parents last night and just listen. There's nobody more equipped. There's nobody better suited to parent your kids than you.
Mm-hmm.
And they all look at me like, "You sure about that?"
Right.
Because a lot of them, they've been shamed.
Mm-hmm.
Society, teachers, people just look at them like you're doing a crappy job because of where their kids are at. And we got to stop that. That doesn't empower them. That beats them down and makes them feel terrible. And the truth is, I can tell them that with confidence because there's nobody better to parent their kids than them.
Right.
But we need to help them get to the peak to make sure they're parenting at their best, not parenting at their worst.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, the first thing we teach is identify where you're at. Because if you can identify where you're at, then it gives you the ability to identify where your kids at. Where are they at? Are they clear right now? Well, probably not. They're triggered. There's something wrong, so they're probably not clear. They're either in fight or flight. They're anxious, they're fearful, or they're shut down. One of those things is real. But if I don't know that, if I myself am in a sympathetic mode where I'm anxious or I'm afraid, well, I'm going to view them shutting down as defiant. Well, they just don't want to talk. Well, that's not true. They can't talk because they're shut down. They can't think clear. It's confusing. Or if they're just being rude, they're escalating. Well, now I drop down. Now it's just where it's going to be on. It's going to be a disaster. That's where we're going to call the police and CPS to probably get involved. And so you think about how simple this is, but how powerful it is for parents to start to realize, where am I? If I can navigate and find out where I am and find out where my kid is, now all of a sudden I can parent based on where they are. Powerful stuff.
And that helps with not labeling because they're not, like you said, they're not this exact emotion. It's where where their nervous system is currently at.
And so what happens is we as parents and teachers, a kid does something, either a boneheaded move, a defiant move, a disrespectful move, or something that's dangerous or whatever. And we go from clear to anxious, fearful, and then we feel the need to control it. We have confusion, whatever, but we're the parent, so we have to do something. And so whatever comes out of us is out of whatever that emotion is, and it's negativity. And so that's where the negative comments, the fearful comments, that's where punishment comes out, and that's where punitive measures come out because we don't know what to do. So if I can control it, if I can squash it, if I can just try to stop this, then I'm going to feel better about myself as a parent. But what am I creating in my kid? So there's more. We're going to talk more about this in the next show because this is powerful stuff. But Abby, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
It's been a fun show. And thank you for tuning in. Listen, 5 Star Life is on a mission, and you can see that we're passionate about impacting kids who are athletes through 5-star basketball, kids in a system who've gotten into trouble. And we're passionate about that because these moments in their life are benchmark moments that have the potential to forever label them and set them on a course to prison, to dropout, to all kinds of negative things. And we have a 95%, again, Abby and the team, 95% success rate at turning it around. They never reoffend again. We want you to be a part of it. We need your help. Volunteer, donate, get involved, or bring 5 Star Life to a community near you. Go to 5starlife.org.